Hello, everyone. So, my intention with this video is to walk you through how to close 67% of your sales calls. Now, I want you to do the math. Let's say that you had 10 calls, 67% will be around six of those calls to close as a client. And I want you to think about what that would do for your life in your business to be able to have successes like this. Now, let me tell you a story. There was this week. I was in Texas. I was sitting outside by the pool, and I remember getting these notifications. I opened my phone up, and I was like, "Oh, this person booked this call," and I was like, "Oh, cool, I have this call." And then I looked on my calendar to see when they booked their call for. And then as I looked at their name, another name was there, and I was like, "Oh, I don't remember this name being there." That was two. And then there was another one an hour later who booked a call, and then another one and another one. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's awesome. I'm getting all these people booking calls. And so, anyways, I hop on all these calls. There were six calls that week. Out of the six calls, I closed four of them, and they were all high ticket, which was freaking amazing. And it's interesting because when this happened, most people that I told about, they were like, "Oh, you must have a really great sales script," or "Man, you're just a really good closer," or "Man, you must have a really good offer." Now, while some of these things are true, I want to say right off the bat, I do not have a sales script. So I actually don't believe in them. I think that calls can be done a lot more naturally. So I didn't lead any of these calls with a sales script. The only reason that I closed a lot of these calls was not because I'm an amazing closer. It was because of everything that I did before and during this call, which I'm going to walk you through in this video as well. And then the offer, yes, it was a strong offer, but because of the way that I structured the offer. So now let's go ahead and dive deeper and let me walk you through everything that I did, what I learned, and what you can do in your business to get the same results. I also want to reiterate again, 67% is not average. Most people are only, anywhere from 10 to 20%, a little bit higher than 20% if they're really good, but these are not average numbers. But this has happened multiple times for me, and so I want to walk you through what I did to get this to happen multiple times. So you've all been told about posting content. For me, I was very, very specific in my content plan. So my content was meant to build trust, to then build those conversations, and to then acquire those clients. And so let's go ahead and break that down. So in the content, my content created trust way before I ever had a conversation with people. And the reason that this happened is because I was very intentional with how I approached my content. So I had three different types of content that I posted. I had the oh, it just hit it, which makes no sense. Let me go back real quick. Okay, so I'm just gonna underline then. I don't want it to not show. But anyways, the first type of content was transformation story. So what I actually, let me go back a little bit. So the reason that I approach my content in these three ways were because I realized, you know what, people need to trust me at a deeper level, and they also need to trust that I can lead them to the result. And there are very specific ways to do that. And so for me, there were three different types of content that I really focused on and went all in on to get people to see that one, I really understand where they're at and that I am the person that can help them in this very specific moment in time. And so the first type of content was the transformation story. So I would go into a personal story, but the story was focused not on just telling a story, it was focused on the lessons and the principles in these stories. And the way that I shared these stories was in a way that they could also apply and implement the lesson and the principles that I would teach. So in every single post, story or transformation story post, there was very clear steps that it could take that I took or that I learned that took me to a certain result. The second one was teaching. So a lot of people call this value content, but for me, I focused on actually teaching people. It wasn't just, hey, everyone look at me. Hey, everyone look at everything that I know. Every single teaching content post that I put up was literally walking them through specific steps, specific processes that they can also implement. And so this type of content worked well because people saw that, hey, I actually know what I'm doing. But the whole point of it was not, let me wake up today and teach people what I'm doing. It was, hey, everyone, this is how you do this so that you can have this result in your own business and in your own life. And then one of my favorite was into my world content. I brought people into my world. I talked about my struggles. This is very close to the transformation story, except this one was more focused on just getting people to see who I am, how I act, how I think, how I see the world. One of my very favorite types of posts that I put up for this one was just my vision. Like one day, my vision is to, sponsor a new coach and pay for them a certain amount every single month as they build out their dream. Because I remember when I first started, I just wish that somebody would invest in me and help me and lead me. And I also experienced other people promising that they would help me and invest in me and then drop me because of my finances. And so I posted these three types of content, and it was amazing because it built real trust. People got to see me as a real person, but also as a leader, and they trusted that I would get them to where they want to go. But now that's not enough. There's a second part to this that was really important. My hooks came from real people. A lot of the time, we are told that our hooks need to be catchy and they need to, scroll or stop the scroll and we need to get their attention. For me, I found a very unique way to do that. It's not anything major, it's not anything big, but it worked really well for me. See, most people, they sit in front of their computer, in front of their document, and they start to just type and they start to think, okay, how am I going to get people's attention? How am I going to get them to understand what I want to say? Some people even, offload that to AI. And so it starts with their brain. It starts with, okay, here's what I think is going to be good. And then they write the content and then they post the content. My approach was a little bit different. It was to go to the people first. It was to go to what people are actually saying about their situation and then using that in my content. And so for me, it wasn't, I'm going to sit here and write what I want to say. So what I did is I literally took their words, so what they're actually saying, and then I used that as my hooks. And so one great example of that was I remember writing these exact words. I feel split in my messaging. I have no idea what to talk about. And people started commenting, and there was one person in particular who was like, I was just thinking the same thing. This is exactly where I'm at. And so that clicked for me. Again, I wasn't writing about what I wanted to say. I was writing what they had already said. I was using their own words. I was talking about their own specific experiences in my content. And so I wasn't going around inventing hooks. I wasn't asking ChatGPT to give me a list of viral hooks. I was collecting language directly from people and using that language directly in my hooks. And so when people read my content, it was like, oh, that's exactly where I'm at. I was speaking to a very specific moment that people could take and say, you know what, this is actually me right now in this very specific moment. Of course, I had specific structure and sequence for my content. But again, all of them were really focused on that. Next, my content wasn't trying to impress people. I think there's a lot of posturing happening online, especially right now, and people are just trying to show themselves as this valuable person and they're trying to prove their worth. And so a lot of people, what they do, let me change the color here. What a lot of people do is they go up there and they start to post all of this information, a lot of information for people to kind of dive into. While some of it is good, what I've noticed is that what really works well is understanding. That works better than anything. And by understanding, I don't just mean the generic, understand the person you're talking to, but it's actually having empathy. It's actually understanding the people you are speaking to, because when you understand them, you are able to lead them at a completely different level. So there has to be a balance. So as you're showing up to show your deep knowledge and show that you're an expert, a true leader is going to have strong empathy. They're going to be able to couple that knowledge with that empathy and really lead people to where they want them to go without focusing so much on them. So one of the things that I know that I committed to and I know that I stood on was I'm going to focus on them, not on me. So every time I sat down to write content, I was thinking about them. I was thinking about their situation. I was thinking about their current one specific moment and how I could meet them there. So I wasn't trying to prove I knew business. I wasn't trying to prove that I knew more than them. I was trying to make people feel like I understood their business, like I understood their specific situation. Now, that's all before the call ever happened. And it was always interesting because people would literally message me and saying, "Hey, Braylon, I read this post, I read your content, and it's speaking to directly to where I'm at right now." And they would book calls because of that. I remember so many experiences where people would literally say, "Hey, I've been looking at your content. I know I haven't commented, but I've been looking at your content. Can you send me your link so I can book a call with you? Or I would like to book a consultation. Or hey, how do I move forward to working with you?" It happened so many times because of the content and the approach that we took. Now, I don't like to do a sales call. I like to do right fit calls. And the whole purpose of this is to really understand the person that I'm going to be interacting with. So before the call matters a lot more than you think. And so let me show you this little diagram, right? So before the call, I try to understand where this person is at. I try to understand where their readiness is and then their commitment. And so there are three parts here. In my calendar, before they can even book a call with me, there are some questions on there that gets me information about where they're at right now. If you do not have these, well, most people call them our pre-qualifying questions in your calendar or before someone can book a call with you, you are going to attract a lot of the wrong people. You want to make sure that you filter out people who do not meet the criteria or are not even ready or aligned with the type of work that you do. This will save you a lot of time. I have been in some calls where people felt like it was like a therapy call. I have been on calls where people just wanted to give free consultation and information. So what I do now is in my calendar, again, before they even book a call, there's some questions that are very direct and gets me a sense of who they are and if they're actually ready to do the work that we need to do. And so the first part, the context. Do I understand who I'm speaking with? So where's their business at? What are their goals? What is their vision? What are the things holding them back? And what's the current reality? Because if you don't have context, you're not going to be able to interpret their answers in the way that you need to. You might start to add your own meaning to it. You might start to add your own context. But if you have already context built in, you can build on that and you can start to see this is where the person is really at and how I can help them where they're at right now. Second is the readiness. Are they in a place to actually benefit from the work, from the feedback that you're going to give them? Are they going to be open to being challenged? Are they willing to investigate what the real issues are? Are they looking for a solution now? Or are they looking for a solution later? And are they coachable? This is so important to me because this is more than just are they ready to buy? This is are they even ready for it? Because I remember I got on a call with someone who literally asked to be on a call to get feedback from me. And in the call, whenever I pointed out, like, well, this is what I'm noticing, like, this is what I think the issues are, they defended every single thing I said. Like, every single bottleneck that I saw, every single obstacle that I noticed, every single insight that I gave, they defended every single part of it. And so this person was not coachable. And so even though the feedback that I gave them was real, like it was like real feedback, they wouldn't take it. And so for me, this part is important because I don't want to ever get on a call with someone who's just going to defend themselves all the time instead of just being open to the feedback. Because if they knew, they would already have fixed it. And so if they don't have things working for them, that means that there's something that they're not seeing. There's a blind spot there. And so make sure that you also know, are they even in a place to benefit from it? And then finally, the commitment. Are they willing to invest in building their business? Now, this includes not just finances. This can include their time, their energy, their money, or the actual follow through, right? So this is not just can they even afford it? Because what I've experienced is that someone may have the money, but not the commitment, or someone may not have the money, but they're very committed to the growth. There's somebody now who I can think of who is not financially there, but they are working so hard and they're so committed to their work. And for me, I respect that. And so here you're looking at both. You're looking at, is this person actually committed and are they able to invest in themselves? And of course, there are different things that you can do to meet people where they are, but you still want to make sure they're committed. And so here's one of the questions that I actually have before you book a call with me. So where are you currently at when it comes to investing in your growth? And then people can literally tell me, like, I'm not in a position to invest anything. And so for me, okay, do I want to get on a call with someone who's just not going to invest? Because then what are they going to do? They're going to try to get free coaching. There are some calls that I hold where people can get on a call with me for free and we can talk about where they're at. But when it comes to a right fit call, I'm not booking a call with someone who's just not ever going to invest and it's just going to take up my time. Okay. My time is valuable and respectfully, I would like to use that time to serve people who actually want to be helped. So what I've learned is that the better I understand someone's context, the better I can serve them, whether we end up working or not. I didn't include this anywhere here, but this is actually like a hack. When you get on a call and you understand the context, you can now cater your offer and what you do to them in that specific thing they're struggling with. So if I know that you're struggling with your messaging and you feel like you're split and that there's like just so many different ideas, I'm gonna tell you about how one of my messaging offers will help you pick that one thing that you're gonna focus on so that you're no longer split. I'm gonna teach you why you're split. I'm gonna walk you through that. So everything that I'm talking to you about is going to be connected to that specific thing. And so the point that I want to make here is that, good qualification isn't going to be just about deciding whether someone can buy. It's also understanding whether they're in a position to benefit. It's understanding their context so deeply so that you can then see how you can meet them where they are. And when you understand the context really well, you can also decide, hey, based on where you're at, I can help you, or based on where you're at, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. Or you can shoot somebody in the next direction. I do that a lot, right? So if someone cannot invest in me or they just don't align with where I'm at, I will send them and point them in the right direction to the right person who can help them where they are right now, or whoever wants to actually help them with where they are. Now, when they actually get on a sales call, the sales call isn't actually a sales call. It wasn't actually a sales call. So in this moment where I had these 6 calls, they weren't really a sales call, right? Most people, they get on a call and it's questions, pitch, objections, right? For me, the way that I run my calls is actually I'm asking you questions to truly understand you always. And I like to slow it down. So for me, I'm not rushing through a call just to get to the pitch. I'm actually like asking enough questions to truly understand. I ask follow-up questions because my goal is, can I really see this person and where they're at? And then when it comes to a point where I feel like, hey, like I might be able to help this person, I always ask for permission. I don't just jump into the pitch and kind of do like a gotcha. I actually ask for permission. I say something like, hey, um, just based on what I'm hearing, would you mind if I share a little bit about what I do? So just to see if this is something that might help right now, something like that, something along those lines. And then if they say yes, we have a conversation. If they say no, we end the call there or we just continue to talk a little bit. I have not had anyone say no to me when I ask for permission. And something interesting enough as well, there have been many cases where I never even get to ask for permission. People literally ask me, "Oh, can you please tell me about what it is that you do? Can you please tell me more about your program? Can you please tell me about we're working, with you looks like. And then I actually still go through the piece of my presentation. But again, it begins with me truly understanding the person. And no, this is not like a psychological trick. Like there are people who will teach you, like, yeah, do this and do that. But for me, it was truly like, I want to understand this person. I truly want to see where they're at and then see how I can serve them. And if I'm the right fit to serve them, I will tell them. And if I'm not, I will tell them that too. And I'm not tied to the story. I'm not tied to the outcome. I'm tied more to their outcome and their success and their journey rather than my own. And so here's what I've learned throughout this process, right? So looking back, none of these things were random. So closing 4 out of 6 people was not random. It was actually very interesting because in that process of having these calls, 3 of them, so 3 out of the 6 calls, had directly mentioned my content. And they had specifically told me, like, yes, like your content spoke directly to where I'm at. Most of them talked about that. And they told me that again, I was speaking directly to where they were at, and they just felt like they needed to reach out. They needed to book a call. And so I didn't follow this like magic formula or anything like that, right? Most people will tell you, like, hey, I'm, I'm all of these things and more, and I have this perfect thing that's going to work for you. I want to be the person that tells you it worked for them because of so many other factors. It may not work for you the same. So beware of someone that says, like, this is the one way to do this thing. What actually worked for me was reality. It's looking at reality because every single decision that I made came from paying attention to what reality kept teaching me. I looked at what reality was telling me, at what the numbers were telling me, at what people were telling me, about what people were saying, and I used that, right? What I've seen is a lot of entrepreneurs, they're going to try to find better tactics, better strategies, better systems. I've done that, better scripts, all these things. But for me, I was trying to make better decisions. Better decisions are what create a better business. And so if you are a person who has been literally struggling with like figuring these things out or closing on sales calls, there are very specific things that you can do, but you need to learn what those things are. So instead of going through a sales call and it failing, look at everything that reality is telling you because that's information for you, that it's evidence that you can use. But if you're not thinking this way, you're going to leave a lot of opportunities on the table. I hope that this video was helpful. Let me know what stood out to you. Let me know what really helped you in this moment because, again, this is a very interesting experience for me and it's happened more than once. And I had to really break down like, what did I do that really, caused this to happen? And this seems very simple. A lot of this seems like no-brainer stuff. A lot of this even seems like, okay, like that seems basic. That's the point. It's very simple, it's very basic, it's nothing major, but it's so easy to get polluted with all the information out there, with all the different strategies that we missed out on that the fact that simple works and it's very straightforward. So if it feels confusing and complex, more than likely there's a lot of other noise in the way. But with that, it's been my pleasure, and I will see you in the next week.